Okay, hello everyone. I hope the sound is okay. So this is not a live game, as Dennis was just asking, but I'm going to be reviewing a game I played earlier this year. Um, so I've been a bit busy the last few weeks, so it's been a while. So just tell me in the chat if there's anything wrong. Um, yeah, I should have a more normal schedule from here on, so I'm hoping to do some more live broadcasts and videos and stuff like that. Okay, oh, very good. Thanks, Sandy. Just to introduce my opponent, um, Suzuki Ayumi, one of the top Japanese female Go players. She has taken a few of the female titles, so she was the strongest female, or female strongest. Um, a rough translation, excuse me, rough translation of the Japanese name. She was that twice. She had that title twice, and she's also the female Kisei. And the tournament we're playing in here is the Kisei tournament. So that's the Kisei in which all professional players play. So it doesn't matter whether you're female or male, you play in this tournament. And the FT there, if you look at the right of the screen, the FT stands for first tournament. So the Kisei tournament is sort of interesting. They find a different way to set up their tournaments every time. So they have, it's gone through a number of metaforces, and they change the system every few years, it seems. While most of the Japanese tournaments are just straight elimination, almost to the very end of the tournament. Some of them have a round-robin league at the end, but most of the tournaments are just elimination rounds from start to finish. The Kisei tournament, this version of it that we're doing now, it starts with elimination round. So that's what we're doing here in the first tournament. And they have a lot of leagues after that. So there's going to be a C league. There's going to be two B leagues, which are parallel to each other, so they're equal. And then there's an A league, and then there's an S league, which is, I suppose the S stands for special. And then you finally get to a final tournament where all of the winners of all of the leagues end up playing each other. Okay, so it's the game. This Joseki here in the lower left, I did put a link in the comments. Actually, I didn't put one in for Twitch, so let's put that one in there. Yes. So that's a link to a video that you can watch later if you want to copy that. That's about the Joseki in the lower left. But if I recall correctly, I've diverted from this Joseki twice in videos that I've shown you. So I don't really follow Joseki very well, and it didn't go well for me in this game. So that's the thumbnail. If you saw the thumbnail, I'm calling it a submarine attack snafu. Yeah. Okay, so let's get to the start of the game. I have the white stones. Oh yes, and a bit more about Suzuki. She, it could be super. I don't really know what that stands for in that tournament. She's a very stable player. So while she only has a few of the female titles, and quite often she comes second. So she's a runner-up a number of times. She has a lot of that. She does have a very good record in general, so that's including games played in the general tournaments against men. And I think that's because she has a very stable style. It's very difficult to beat her because she just hangs in there and she doesn't make any big mistakes. She doesn't do anything flashy like players like Sheimi or Win Wasami. They're a bit more exciting to watch. But they also make some mistakes. So it's that's the type of player she is. Okay, so I've played 2, 3, 4 points, and so Black has played a Kakari here. Nowadays, you see people answering like this. So this would be the standard way for people to answer. It does get a bit monotonous. So in this game, I tried a pincer. People say, well, there's a few pincers when you play this way, it's relatively unlikely that people will play the pressing move at p4. So, for instance, in AlphaGo's games on the internet, it famously played this pressing move and then played this variation. So there was a game, one of the, I believe it was 60 games that it played on the internet on a Go server against top professionals. So all of its opponents were like in the top 50 professionals, and some of them played a number of times. And it played this variation, which had been considered bad until AlphaGo played it, and AlphaGo showed us how it worked. And so it was playing, in this case, it would be playing with the black stones, so pressing it to when white has pincered. In the past, we sort of considered this variation an overplay. Like, we did have variations where black would be trying stuff like this, which is a different joseki. But it didn't do the variation I was just showing you. We didn't do that until AlphaGo started it. Okay, so if you pincer like this, or like this, or this was also a popular pincer before AlphaGo changed their minds, or the AIs that we have now agree with that too. So generally black is getting a good score when black presses here. However, there are a few pincers which it seems that white is going to be okay if black presses. So this is one of them. In this case, I would push through here. And to be frank, this gets really complicated. So I'm not 100% sure here. But white is supposed to be okay in this variation. Or if white pincers here, black can press. But it's probably going to be some kind of a trade like this. So for instance, something like this or something like this. A variation you see a lot. I would call it a joseki. And sometimes you see white play here, in which case the idea is that if black plays here, white's going to push through and cut. That's another one that's a bit complicated. So there are some pincers that white can play with the intention of pushing through to cut here when black presses. And this pincer that I played is one of those pincers. So if black presses here, I'm probably going to push through and cut. In the game black played here, so this is okay to play. So white actually, from the past, black had the jump here. This was a common joseki. Black didn't usually press here in the past before we had AIs, but it's sometimes done now. Or black could play this way, in which case it would be something more like a fight, something like this. Sometimes you see this. That's another joseki. I think it's sort of dying out. I won't get into that one. It gets really complicated. So black jumped out. So in the past, black would usually play here. We used to have a joseki like this that was played several decades ago. Yes. And in this position, white might be using the stone in the upper right. There's a white stone there, so white might be taking some space on this side. That's also an option. In the game, black plays this pincer. So this is a pincer. Oh, hello, Derek Neal. Ezra Kayam. Pincer cut like and the flying knives. Remember the Taisha research from the Edo era? Yeah. Hundreds of years ago, people studied the Taisha joseki, and they invented a lot of new josekis then. One of the most complicated. When black pincers here, black is making miai of an approach against the upper right corner. So a kakari against that corner would be, for instance, the virtue of this is that black has not really invested a lot in these stones in the lower right corner. So black can propose a kind of a trade. So this approach move towards the corner in the upper right is really big. And sometimes black can just sacrifice. So this is an example of how black might sacrifice in the lower right and get something back in the top right. And the idea is that black hasn't really... There are some black stones inside the white territory. but white played some stones inside there also. So although it's a very efficient situation for white, if black gets something significant back in the upper right, then it can be an even trade. So the idea with that stone there is that black is not invested a lot in the lower right corner yet. So, and of course, if black plays an attachment towards the 3-3 point, black should be able to live somehow. So black can afford to leave it for the time being. And making Miai of the corner, an approach towards the corner, which would be this move. Or in the game I played a Shimari, in which case now black is going to invest on the right side and kill that white pincer stone. So I would say this is probably, I could even call it a joseki. It's a variation that people have researched, where black plays these pushes on the 5th line and captures the white stone with this large knight's move. And so you can see how that is working well. The two stones here combine to work well to efficiently surround that area. So it's significant that that pincer is on the 3rd line, which makes it closes off the side. So it makes it difficult for me to get in underneath. And also it's loosely connected to that stone on the 6th line. And so black is drawing a border line here to enclose that area. So it's a nice square area, a significant territory. I'm getting a position in the upper right and on the lower side. So I'd say it's about even, an even result. Okay, so yes, so I was sort of trying to explain that, the question from Ezra, why not 05 first? So that's something you can do. It's actually, but it would be a completely different strategy, because once black plays here, now black has invested a lot of stones here, and some kind of a trade. Yes. Some kind of a trade is not an option anymore. So that's interesting, David. You say her webcam is frozen. She's not actually live. That's just a picture of her. Yeah. A photo, yeah. Yeah, so she is frozen. Unfortunately. Yeah. So so if black were to try to trade like black did in the other variation, it would not be working very well. So for instance, something like this where we get a kind of a trade. In this variation, it's just a bit, I would say black is probably heavy. White might be playing something on the outside, actually. Black is a bit burdened with this group, which black cannot sacrifice anymore. So if black did that, it would change the way black continued, but it would not necessarily be impossible. So in this case, black would be more with the idea of just continuing the local fight here. But this would be okay for me because at some point, I would probably be able to get in the pincer here. And both groups would be weak. So the way black played in the game without the push there, not playing the push yet, is a more flexible way of playing. And again, the idea is that if white adds stones to this local area, black can just start taking big points, such as the kakari. Oh, for white before the shimari, yeah, black would play here anyway. So just by chance, I was showing you that. Yes. Okay, so I played the shimari. This is really big. And black pushed it. So yeah, so that point was not going to be forcing for me because black was just going to play away. And again, like if something like this happens, in the end, there's still so much aji here with black doing stuff like this. There's still an open side at S7 and stuff like that. So it's not going to be an efficient territory for me. So in the game, I played the shimari, and black started pushing on the 5th line. So once black is sure of being able to capture this territory like this, it became okay for black to push on the 5th line. Black wasn't losing anything. Just because black gets this territory on the right side in return. It's an even trade. I think it was pretty much even. Okay, so I kicked once. And yes. Okay, so here, Katago didn't really like this move. when I showed it to Karago later. So I guess it's, if you believe the computer, it's bad. My idea was that I wanted to get a forcing move. So I figured that this stone was dead already. It didn't look reasonable to try to live with that stone. So I was trying to play a forcing move from outside. Maybe get something extra towards the left side. So having this stone on the board, I had the idea that it would become useful later in the game when we started fighting on the left half of the board. So it's a move that works for me. And even though Karago didn't seem to like it, didn't think it was the best move, I think I'm okay with that. So yeah, so it's just the way I feel about getting some extra stones towards the left. It still seems to be useful for me. So I wasn't completely convinced. And I have the opinion that sometimes there's variations that are working for the computer, you might say, or an AI like Karago. But they would not work so easily for me. So it's just something that sometimes I feel that way, and I because of that. Karago just wanted to play a Go, actually. So that's PMA Master asking. I think Karago wanted to play a Kakari against the upper left corner, which is what I did next. So just playing as I did to a certain degree, and just leaving that right side as it was. And I would suppose that Karago was thinking, well, my translation of that. Let's put it that way, because computers don't think the same way as humans do. But my translation of Karago degrading my score a little bit when I played that move is that maybe it was looking at other possibilities. So like, for instance, moves like this or moves like this. Sometimes they can work to a certain degree. Sometimes you might see white playing stuff like this. But the point I'm making is, if you're waiting for a chance to do stuff like this, then when the game develops and the left side of the board changes, sometimes you just lose that opportunity, or the way black will respond will change, depending on what happens on the left. So there's pros and cons to playing or not playing sequences like this. Yeah, I just felt more comfortable with this one. So it's a very subtle difference. So this is a really big move. Playing an approach move here was something I did not consider in this game. But it was actually one of the options I had, according to Karago. It does make use of this structure I have here to expand towards the lower side. And so this would be an area that black would probably not invade very early in the game, because white's so strong on the right, it's probably going to turn into a white territory eventually. So it's a fairly valuable move. The move that I did consider was the 3-3-point invasion. So this is a case where the 3-3-point invasion seems to be a fairly good idea. So, for instance, I was thinking maybe this kind of trade would happen. But I wanted to get the Kakari in first. So I wanted to have that Kakari in first. My feeling was that the approach move towards the corner was bigger. So if black had played something like this, maybe I would have done this now. So yeah, that was sort of my game plan. And black played here. So this was a big move. And I pressed here. So up to this point, and I played the low Kakari. So we call that the submarine attack sometimes. Right. Yeah, so the comments, I agree with the comments here. Yes. Okay, so just to answer some of the questions that were coming in, Asker was asking how many points did it lose? And I don't recall. At this point, it was just a few points in winning percentage. and a fraction of a point, I think, in the point score. So for territory. Right. So I agree with Brian Olive saying that it's possible that Kodago just wanted to remain more flexible and to do something else different later on. Okay. So I did make a video about this, showing you the main variation of this joseki. So the main variation is when white wedges here. And actually, this is a joseki that we played a lot several decades ago. And then towards the end of the 20th century, people decided that this was giving black too much territory, and it died out for a while. So I'm talking about this variation, where black is going to capture the corner. And white can actually live in the corner, but this living by playing like this is usually not very good for white. So that's because it's such a small life. So for instance, something like this would live. Usually white can play this move first, and then would live a similar variation. Yeah. So this is a bit painful because it's so small, and black has a strong position with that captured stone on the left side. So usually white will sacrifice the corner. So this is the joseki. This cat wins the race to capture for black. And white can push 3 times, forcing. I was going to continue. Oh, sorry, not that way. I was going to continue by pushing here also and playing here. Because pushing at 17 is a good point for black to play also. So in this board position, it's actually a very advanced position here where securing the left side is very important for white. So if white can secure the left side, in this case, I felt it was okay to play pushing at 17. So this is the joseki. It's the main variation of how to play this situation in the lower left corner. And there is one thing here. Just let's assume the left side is a white territory. So like when I researched this with Kodago, there was some strange stuff happening on the left side. I don't want to go into that here because it's confusing for me. So it would probably be confusing if I tried to explain it to people. There is an issue that this becomes a fairly big move for black. So although black's thickness, to go back to the joseki in the lower left, black got a big territory here. So that's close to 20 points here. So the territory was good. And also there was the fact that black gets thickness or a strong position facing towards the right. So those two things in combination were what made most people consider this a good variation for black. But actually AIs choose this joseki for white in some board positions. And this board position is one of the board positions where it's probably okay for white. Just because this root is steady enough and it's sticking out towards the left here, it gives black relatively small amount of space in which to use this wall. So this is an example of when white can play this joseki in the lower left, and I should have. But the fact remains that this is a move that is going to come up fairly soon, and when black plays that move, black's going to take the lower side, and of course we'll be looking at the slide here on the second line. And so that does reduce my territory on the side. So that sort of bugged me, and I was in the game, I tried to be fancy. So the fact that 20 here is a significant move is going to be part of my explanation for what I did. Okay, so I played an attachment here, and this was a very bad move. So, just to explain what I was hoping would happen. So, I was thinking black would play a hane underneath, actually. You might say I was hoping black would do that. And then I was going to play the joseki. So, as before, I'm going to try to sacrifice this corner. And I'm going to throw in this cut here. So once I've played that attachment at g3, and black has responded at 1, cutting here becomes a fairly forceful move. And so there are some variations where black tries to do something on the left side. They don't end very well for black. So if we assume black's going to answer that, what I wanted to do here, I wanted to get this exchange in. So what the difference is, I'm going to play the same variation on the left side. So this was the same as what I was showing you as the basic joseki, only I've put in an exchange of 2 stones for black 2 stones in the corner here. And what this accomplishes is that when black plays a move like this later in the game, I have a move here which is almost always going to be forcing. Like capturing at G1 is so big and it would be sente. And black probably has to answer that. And this exchange is sort of getting in the way of black's move. So like black could survive with this stone. So for instance, this would win the race to capture. But you can see white has gained a lot. So even if white, in actual play, white might even do it from this side. So you can see white has squeezed black and has kept this area here relatively big. So gotten rid of the black slide at M2. So this was very efficient for white. That trade that I got in with G3 and F2 interfered with black trying to take away the side from me. So that was the idea. That was how it was. I was hoping it would work. And it was very greedy to assume that black would do that, because actually black plays a hane on the top. Black could have played away. Black could play this hane on the top. And when black plays a hane on the top, clearly capturing this white stone becomes bigger, and I pulled back. And now black gets to play on the left side. And black has taken away the big point on the side, which I was supposed to take. And so this was very clearly bad. And I tried to save the situation with this. And so this was another mistake. So when I researched with Katago, it was actually suggesting I should just play here and crawl. And this would actually, it would take away the corner. So if black plays here, I can play here. In this case, I would be getting the corner back. So this would be bad for black. If black plays here and I play here. Again, this code, it's a relatively easy ko for white. And if I win this ko, like I'm not even going to connect it. But if I continue with moves like this or the cut here, then it potentially, I need ko threats for this cut, but I don't really need ko threats for this move. So I have a follow-up after that. So I can take away the corner. So this would be, it would be relatively good, but like it doesn't really fit with my expectations when I played that attachment at G3. So being human, I'm trying for something better. That's a good question. That name, the name that ends with Wilson, that's just too much for me. There's Korean, Japanese, and something else. Why did I think the black hane would be okay for me? Somehow I was assuming that black would continue answering maybe. So for instance, with something like this, in which case it would be okay. In this case, I would be able to, even if I could not get the same squeeze there, even if I played something like this, that would be a kikashi from the right. So I'd say it was pretty shallow thinking. So it was really bad. It made the game very difficult for me. So I wedged here. So I'm still sort of attached to the idea of saving these white stones. And let's just go on with the game. It does get a bit painful. Okay, so black is not 100% alive in the corner here. But in order to kill it, just looking at it locally, I would have to crow hunt here and play a hane. So just locally, black is not alive yet. But of course, black is fairly strong on top. So that's a bit far away. So I have to move out with these stones, and black pushes here. And so, yes. Okay, so Bent4 is asking why would c5 be heavy? And so the game variation actually is very close to what you're suggesting there. So we'll just continue with this commentary. Okay, good. So when black pushes here, pushing here is a big move. So like it's usually forcing. I didn't answer it in the game, but it's pressing down to the third line. And in the game, I'm pressed down to the second line there. And sort of creating a wall, starting to create a wall towards the left. So isolating this white group on the left here. So this white group is getting isolated because black played here. Another move that black could have played, and black would have been ahead in that case also, is black could have simply played an extension on the side. In which case, maybe I would be doing something like this. Maybe something like this. This would be a fairly significantly big point. And you have to remember that eventually there are some variations where black would end up having to protect the corner. So like, or otherwise it could be this one, maybe something like this. And if white does eventually play here, then we can expect that eventually there's going to be an issue that black has to live in the corner. So black is preventing that by pushing on the fourth line. A strong, we call it a tick move. It's a influential move. And I took the opportunity to play the pincer here. I felt that this was basically the only way I could justify the whole fight I've started here would be to take away black's space on the left side and start a running fight. So on the lower side here, it does look a bit dangerous. Yes. It does look a bit dangerous. For instance, if black pushes through here, let's see, let's get it back to the correct tool. But this is actually, it's sort of complicated. So like, for instance, something like this. So this is a variation where, although black has taken away my territory on the bottom side, black has not actually killed this white group. So like if I eventually play here, I will be able to survive there. So there is some strength to the white group, and there is the fact that black's corner is not alive yet. So either black has to either make an eye somewhere around here, or add a stone, probably at B1 in the corner. Thank you, PhD Tony. Thank you for the support. So there is that a bit of that's the painful part for black. So in the game, black simply covered here, and I played a Hane underneath. So why did I play a Hane underneath? Is actually, we could make it a little problem here. What happens if white cuts here? So would anyone want to suggest a move for black? Okay, and while we're thinking about that, someone asked, let's see, Papa Snack asked in Twitch, would black ever push and cut d5? So sometimes black would push and cut at d5, but sometimes I would just dodge the cut. And cutting here would actually be counterproductive in most cases. So if I allowed black to cut here, sometimes this would be a significant move. But if I jump here, then cutting that ceases to be an issue. So like I would welcome this as white. So it's probably a bad idea for black. Black doesn't want to do that. So black, back to the game. Yes. So I played here. What happens if I play here? G2. H1. H1, wow. K2. K2, yeah, all sorts of suggestions. Okay. Let's just go through it. So like H1, that's going to come up later in the game, so just remember it. But it's a bit too early. It wouldn't be significant enough just to take on the left. It's a Tetsuji. But black really has a choice of this move and this move. So this J2, did anyone suggest J2? J2. First time chats. Oh, Senshi. J2, K2, G2. Right. So first, that's Senshi had the right idea. So if white cuts here, black can squeeze, and threatening to capture 3 stones. If white connects, black got 2 stones on the side with Sente. So that was significant. It was very painful for white. Or if white answers here, black has 4 liberties and white has 3 liberties. So this is the easy way to do it, and it's the correct move. This would be, obviously this is a crash for white, but this is very painful also. This is just too much territory, and I can't, if I connect here, I have Gote. Means black's going to get those 3 stones at some point also. So that's painful. So that's probably what I would call the correct answer. This one is very complicated, and I'm going to call it a mistake. Sometimes playing here and then H1 is the Tetsuji. In this variation, though, black is going to lose by one move. So the real problem is what happens if black does this. And if I play here, there's going to be some kind of a ko here. And so let's see. This is it's a direct ko. This also is a direct ko. So it would be like this, and I would have to win the ko directly. Yeah, so it does get complicated. There is the issue that maybe I would play here. So strictly speaking, it doesn't really work for black. Yeah, so it sort of depends on what's going on the right, but in this case, it doesn't quite work for black, and playing the Hana here is slightly better. So this is the Tetsuji for today. There's going to be more coming, actually, but this is the local Tetsuji. Sorry, play Hana underneath. And so it's like this. So it's in this position. While we were talking about Tetsuji, we can talk about the lower side again, because just locally, this is the Tetsuji again. And if white connects on this side, black cuts here and gets a ko. If white connects on this side, black cuts here. In this case, it's a ko, but it's just a ko to reduce the white territory. So it's something like that. So there are ways for black to reduce the white territory. People can be thinking about that. I might touch it later in the game when it actually could have happened in the end game. So black jumped out here. And yes, I played here, and I played here. So this looked like a Tetsuji. Katago wasn't really impressed, but at this point, it is a difficult fight for me. Even if I just play a normal move like this, it is a difficult fight. So I'm trying to get some eye space with this Tetsuji. And if black had just simply played like this, it would have still been very difficult. I think that when black played here, it did let me off the hook a little bit, because this exchange, it's consolidating my territory on the top here. So without that exchange, there would have been some options for black to make trouble in that area. In this case, it's going to be a white territory. So I was okay with that exchange. But it is sort of typical of Suzuki that she is a very steady player. And so she doesn't always, especially when she thinks she's winning, and she is in this case, she doesn't go for the optimal. She goes for a relatively safe course, and she's generally okay with the game getting relatively close. She probably doesn't think she's gonna lose in the endgame to most players. Okay, so here, yeah, this move, it takes away my base. If black had played something on the outside, then I would actually be able to connect on the second line here. So this would work. You can see the double Atari waiting to happen at E10, D10, sorry. So there's that double Atari, and on the whole, black just has very dangerous shape there in any case. So this would have worked for white. And by playing a honey on the second line, black was stopping me from doing that and taking away some of my eye space. And so here again, so for instance, let's see, did I make a variation? No, I didn't make a variation for that. So sometimes, let's see, would I play here? And in this case, I would be making an eye there, a potential eye there. I would also be threatening to capture this black stone. So in this case, I would have some potential to make two eyes. So like, for instance, this would already be alive. So black plays here. This takes away my eye space and is making some eyes for black. And I get to move out. I'm escaping out towards the center. And black finally plays this capture. So this whole fight here ended with, you can see all of black stones, most of the black stones are connected up. So that's what she was doing there. She connected up here. And she made two eyes for this group. So black has no weak groups, and white has this the white group is weak in the center. And so I guess for black it went fairly well according to plan. It is a difficult middle game for me. I'm slightly behind. So, however, when I researched the game with my computer, I found a different move for black here. So it is an important move there. So for instance, if black plays away and white pulls out here, this is actually kind of a problem here because black would like to push through here, white will cover, and these white stones, they're potentially going to live. Sorry, not that way. So and so, yeah, there's stuff happening here because there's a kind of a potential cut here, and I can live on this side. The corner is potentially isolated. You know, actually, it looks, maybe it's okay for black after all. But there is some aji here that she wanted to get rid of. So there is that issue. So I think it's reasonable for black to want to add a stone to make two eyes. But the way the computer wanted to do it, Dana Blitz, did computer programs become even stronger since AlphaGo? They're getting stronger all the time. That's a problem. I mean, I don't like it because they get harder to understand. So playing here was actually, this is a neat tesuji that I didn't dream of during the game, but black should have played here. So how this works, black is asking, how does white connect? So white seems to have two choices here, to play a hane here, or to simply connect. If white plays the hane though, black can play here, threatening a double Atari at e7. So this would be rather painful. So in this variation, black has lived with sente and does not really have to answer locally. Black would probably answer something on this side, which would be a valuable move in itself, and it would be reinforcing for the case that white plays this kind of stuff. Actually, black will probably live with this move. So white's just kind of a skeleton of a group here. It's not good. So that's one thing that could happen. If white connects here, black is going to extend. So this is better than the capture in the game because In both cases, in this case and in this case, white has the option to save the 3 stones on the left. So if white, for instance, in the game, if white plays here, white's going to save those stones. White's going to be connected up. In this case, if white connects up, white's going to play either here or here. And black is going to be playing this move. So what happened here is black got the exchange of 1 and 9 for white 2 and 10. So black is playing a significant move there, which connects the black root and reduces white to no eyes at all, while white was just playing dominant pawns. So the whole idea with black playing the attachment at 1 was to get that exchange in. And so the difference is, and the same thing when black captures the 3 stones, black is going to start. So in the case that black captures the 3 white stones, decides to add a stone there, black is going to start with pulling back here, and white has no eyes at all. So the fact that white doesn't have any eyes when the dust settles here is the difference. So in the game, when black plays here, I'm not going to save these 2 stones anymore. So for instance, if black played here at some later date, I don't have to save those 2 white stones. So I can save the 3 stones on the left, and it ceases to be a significant capture, because in this case it's even gote for black, and black already had 2 eyes. So there's no meaning, no extra value to those 2 stones. So this was black's opportunity to play this move. So this is something, actually this is the biggest lesson I got from the game, because when we were playing I did not see that. I didn't see it coming, and my opponent missed it also. So that was a move that was sort of special for me in this game. In the game, black just took the 1 stone, and I slided here. So sliding here, it might be difficult for some people to recognize this, but this is a huge move. So it's on the 2nd line. People tell you you don't want to play on the 2nd line early in the game, and it's in a corner. But actually, it's close to 20 points. So if we compare it, for instance, to black playing, let's see, what will I probably should have played here. So I'm sort of, this is a kind of a prologue to the fact that actually I should have played in the center. But we compare it to something like this, where black is going to capture that stone at 3. In this case, like if we say that black's going to follow up with capturing this stone, white got sente. So it cost black 1 move, 1 tempo. But it was more than 10 points in the corner, and about 10 points difference in white territory also. So it was a solid 20 points difference in territory. So it's 20 points in territory, and it's also the fact that when white slides here, I'm taking away the base from this black group. So I'm potentially making it an unstable group, and it means that black has to add stones to that black group to make it stronger. So I felt that this was my only choice in this case. I did feel that I was behind in territory, so I wanted to take territory. And I was aware that the safe move, you might say, would be to jump in the center. Let's put that stone down. Jumping here is an important move, because the surrounding black stones are so strong that black can actually attack very actively. So in the game, black did have an opportunity. Black bumped against here. This is getting rid of the cut on the 2nd line. So for instance, it's not a big deal, but if black plays away and white plays here, it means that either white can cut on the outside, or white can capture those 2 black stones. So by bumping against white here, black is removing that threat, because now black can connect on the right and nothing bad happens. So that's what black was doing there. And then black played this move. So this is the biggest move. It still looks like an opening point. So it's a really big move. And it is a potential attack against the corner. The other move that black could have chosen to play was this one, which would be the more active move. One thing there is, that variation I was talking about, which took away my eye space. So where did that go? This one that took away my eye space. In the game, I actually have, sometimes I have a potential item. So that would be when I play here. Well, sometimes I can actually peep and threaten black a little bit, but at the very least I can play here. And let's see, I usually have a potential item. So it sort of depends, I guess. Oh, no, so I don't do it that way. Yeah, so black can play here and here. But you know, it's a very it's a good trade for me where I get a lot of forcing moves and better shape. So yeah, I guess I didn't have an either. So yeah, just erase that. But yeah, it does give me some potential. For instance, with a peep here, which can make things better for me. So that's why it was slightly better for black to have that exchange in with this move. So yeah, attacking here would have been more active. And so the idea would be that eventually black would be able to wedge here after making white a bit heavy. Black could even, yeah, black would do it this way. So black's going to get some points there, capturing those zones while I try to escape. So for instance, something like this. That would be a lot of territory added to the black group. Or basically black is just squeezing white a bit. So this would be the stronger way to play. It's also would make for a more volatile position because the whole upper side is wide open. If black messes up here, then white's going to be getting a big point on the top side. So I think it's okay for black to play the safe move here because black does have a lead. We're going to see black taking this lead into the end game. So the game sequence is probably going to demonstrate fairly well that he actually does have a lead. So I jumped here. So I was one move late, but in the game I just felt that to keep in the game I really had to take this territorial point first. So that worked out okay. So now you can see we've sort of filled the lower left area with stones. No big moves left here. Saving these stones, that's more than 10 points, but it's not really attached to any dead black groups, so it's not going to be forcing. So I played here. So what I'm trying to do with this move, obviously it's a process of establishing the border of our territories, because black does have a territory here, which I'm not going to be able to erase or invade or anything. So establishing the territory borderline. Also, there's the fact that I'm trying to establish this territory here. So this white corner enclosure is relatively weak as far as defending the territory. It's just that black can invade in various points. So black can invade here, or black can invade here. The reason she didn't do that yet and pushed here is because black also had a potentially weak group there in the top. So if we start something in the corner, I wouldn't get it would take me some time to get sente. But eventually, if white does get sente, this becomes an attack on black's group in the upper left. So that would be, in some cases, that would be an issue. So it was important for black to push here to stop that. And so I'm defending the corner. So black could play moves like this or moves like this to make trouble in the corner. So at any point. So I'm starting a sequence where I'm trying to consolidate that corner. And this also. So like a safe move, if I was way ahead, maybe I'd play something like this or something like this. These are moves that you see in actual games. So in itself, it's not a bad move, but it would be a bit too passive in this board situation. So maybe something like this would happen. Black would get a good territory on the top there. So locally, it's okay for white to do something like this, but it's very passive. It's not something I would do when I'm having a difficult game. So I played here. I'm trying to be a bit more active. And the object of this was to get rid of that 3 3-point attachment and this move. So when black plays here, I can answer it like this, and I shouldn't have any trouble killing that black stone. So this exchange here has established that corner territory for white. So it locally it was working. I do recall that the computer Karago was suggesting some kind of invasion. And in this case, it would be much more exciting, dangerous for me. I think the idea is that if I play the game sequence, I'm a few points behind. So my feeling was that it was close enough that I could maybe catch up. And Katago doesn't think about it that way. So it's just a difference of, you could call it a style thing. Sometimes playing like this and playing an in-game works. So that was my idea. I also noticed that this is the game move. The idea is that my group in the center, when I play something like that variation where I've invaded here, my group in the center can be pushed around a bit. It can still be pushed around a bit. Black can get some forcing moves here. I'm not going to die because I can connect up to the left. But it will make my stone on the top side, it's going to make it look a bit lonely. And so I felt, my feeling for this was that this is going to be, it's not reasonable for white. It doesn't seem to be a reasonable variation. And so this is where the AIs, they can handle situations like this. It turns into a crazy fight. But I wasn't very confident in this variation. So I was thinking I had to be a bit more cautious. And so I protected the corner and then I played here. So this is a relatively safe move, which, in which case I'm threatening to, this would be such good shape that black is going to push through here. It's good shape for black too. But I do connect up to the center. So it's reinforced my center group while reducing the top side. And I figured that I was something like 2.5. Just studying it with Katago, I got the message that I was 2.5 or 3.5 points behind. My feeling at the time was something close to that. So, although I didn't have precise numbers. So I wondered, when I showed this to Katago was saying I had to invade here. And again, this just looks so dangerous. When black starts doing stuff like this. And my group in the center is bigger than anything that could happen on the top side. So I have to save my group in the center. And I think that the result could be that my group on the top gets into trouble. So that's what I was thinking would happen. Black might start with this actually. So it's so complicated that I would have trouble trying to continue with this variation. But my feeling was that it was just too dangerous for me on the top. Because I have to save the center. The center is just too big to sacrifice. So I didn't consider going in that deeply. And I wondered if it was just the fact that white's going to lose anyway. And the AI was going to make some wild variation which was more dangerous. So what I did was I decided I was going to trick Karago into thinking I wasn't losing. So what I did was I changed the komi, the size of the komi, as far as Karago was judging the position. In the interface, I changed the komi to 8.5 points. It's actually 6.5. So when the komi was 8.5 points, Karago did not choose this move. In fact, when it was 9.5, Karago started playing very safe moves. So actually, this is a pretty important point, which establishes my connection there in the center. And gets me some space. So instead of playing the game move, it seemed to like a solid move like this. When we gave white enough komi that I was actually ahead. Ezra Kayam is asking, how much would I say my understanding of the game is since AI came along? So I would say he's asking how much it's improved. I think the fact that we can get point scores for just about any position, and the point scores can agree or disagree with the opinion that I started with. But it's just very reliable information in its own way. So like sometimes as I'm showing you here, sometimes I get into a variation where I think that I couldn't follow up with that. But just the knowledge that the AI has this idea, and the judgments, the positional judgments where it gives actual winning percentages, and with Karago you can get the point score, the territory also, is very helpful. It increases the quality of my understanding. So it makes a big difference. It's changed how people have played the opening, and it has improved the level of professional games as a whole, in general. Yes, but it was very interesting to change the komi to see what Karago would have done if I were actually ahead. So yeah, the fact is I'm losing by, it's either 2.5 or 3.5 points, something like that. But I thought maybe I can continue playing here. And also I wanted to end this sequence with Sente. So if we look around the board, like this area, it's all filled with stones. There's some, the Yosei in the upper left is not so big either. There's a big move here. So like if I were to play with white, this would be a big move. And this would be a big move. So there are some big moves in the upper left corner. But actually, as far as territory is concerned, this is the biggest move on the board. So like this, the comparison is with black jumping in there at this point. So this was a really big move. If black plays here, you usually count it with black getting this move also, and white answering that here. And then, of course, the Hanesugi on the first line is going to be forcing 2. So black gets 5 more points in the corner here. And white has lost something like 11 points in the corner. So it's less than 20 points. It depends on the situation. So it's less than 20 points here. There's also the fact that at some point black is going to be able to cut here. And there's maybe a couple more points that black's going to gain with the threat of a squeeze. So to be exact, for instance, this kind of squeeze, where black's going to force me to put 2 more stones in there. So it's probably actually close to 20 points. So this is a really big move. So I played here. And yes, black plays here, and black plays here. So yes, this is actually threatening to cut at the 3-3 point. So if I play away, black has a forcing move here. This would usually not work, but with that forcing move at 2, it combines to create the cut at 8. So that's something that it's all forcing. So I had to connect here. And yes, this was the biggest move on the board, and I played here. So black has maintained her lead. Capturing these 3 stones was the biggest move at that point. And we have this empty center. So we don't know what's going to happen here. But I'm still a little bit thin. So I played here. I was sort of hoping for this variation, which would improve my position in the center significantly. I don't know if I'm going to play that final move, but it's a big move. And she played here. So when this happened, I think I have something on the top side. So I'm already thinking of doing something to try to break into black's territory on the top side. But I don't think I want to do it yet. So for instance, if I do something like this now, I'm a bit worried about my group in the center. So maybe I shouldn't have worried about it that much. But I had the feeling that my group in the center was not strong enough for me to do this immediately. So I'm going to wait for an opportunity to do it later in the game. I just played the big move here. So this is a very big move. And there's a follow-up to it. Playing here for black, it's a very important move too. The idea is that black is going to play here, and I still have to defend. If I defend here, black gets this as a forcing move. If I defend on this side, then I have to worry about this kind of stuff that could be happening. So I probably would defend here, but it's going to be sort of painful. And my whole group there in the center is getting squeezed. So that's the idea with black's move there. Very big point. So going back a few moves, if I had felt that I was winning the game, that's a point that maybe I would have been playing. This would have been a reasonable move that would give me some space in the center. So that's why the black move was important. And I played here. So this is the follow-up to white's capture at S10. It's the tesuji. So this is something that's sort of worth remembering if you see it for the first time. Okay, Chunky Gecko is asking, was this game in person or online? It was played in person. We're both pros in Japan, so we went to the Japanese Go organization and we played face-to-face. At the time of this game, it was a couple of months ago. At the time of this game, we were still required to wear face masks because of the COVID virus, and they were still taking precautions. And now people still wear face masks a lot in Japan. It's something people did before we had the coronavirus, so it's something that was, especially now because there's pollen in there in the spring. So people still wear face masks, but it's an individual choice that people make now. So it's not required anymore. At the time of this game, we were playing with face masks. Okay, so white plays this attachment, and what I'm doing with this is I'm setting up the cut here. So the cut comes as a forceful move, and then I play here. So I'm getting the hane on the first line. If black plays here, then later on I can play here. It's gonna mess with black's territory. It's gonna be a ko kind of variation. So black connected, and I got an extra forcing move here. So the comparison with if white had just simply played something like this, there would be no forcing moves from the center. So by playing, before I strengthen black like that, by playing this exchange, I got that extra forcing move from the center. So these forcing moves that I got from the center are actually very, very important because I'm about to try to start stuff on the top side and in the center. So there's a pending fight that I feel I have to do now. It's going to happen partly in the center of the board. So it's important that I got these forcing moves in. And I played here. So here, I'm still thinking about that move on the top here. So I'm trying to set that one up. And when black plays here, black is trying to keep pressure on my group in the center. So we're both sort of eyeing the top side, which has some bad aji there. Actually, black is winning. So black is still winning. Black is still ahead in territory. So my idea of how I'm going to catch up, I'm white, as you might notice. My idea of how I'm going to catch up is I'm going to try something on the top side. So that's what we did. So I'm starting with adding some potential, we call it aji in Japan, to the white stones in the center. You might notice I've just sacrificed these white stones, so I'm losing some territory here. I'm in the process of sacrificing them. I'm just trying to get some extra strength. So in this case, there would be this potential squeeze from the center. So it's not really working because black can capture these stones or black can capture this stone. But it does mean that I have some forcing moves such as these that will reinforce my group in the center. So that's what I'm doing with these stones that I'm playing in the center here. And black countered with this. So black is suddenly playing very aggressively, very actively, trying to put some pressure on my center. So this became a chance for me to create some aji here. And I can actually pull this group out. But it's going to be really dangerous if I do that. Because my group in the center is sort of it's in danger of getting cut off. So it's not going to be all that successful for me. So before I did that, I peeped here. So this was the move that I'd been sort of thinking that I wanted to do for a while here. So the idea is that if black answers on this side, I can push through here and cut. And this would capture some black stones on the left. So that's the idea I have here. And black, yeah, well, this was okay. So this was a problem move for black. So there was some kind of miscalculation with this move, which made the game very close after this. Okay, Rick Rubenstein is asking, was my opponent aware of dodgy at the top or just thought she needed to play K15 to stay ahead? Of course she was aware of dodgy. And as, yeah, I think that there was some miscalculation involved in it. But actually, it wasn't going to work after all. So I'm going to show you that variation with black covering here. So black could have covered here, and it actually would not have been a big deal. So if I play here, and black plays here, this is just going to be an easy win for black. So there's no way I'm going to win this race to capture. I'm not even going to go into it. I could kill the black group on the left, but it would cost me one move here. So this would kill the black group on the left, but like there's no way I'm going to win this race to capture. So when black plays here, I sort of have a choice between this move and this move. But even if I play that move, black can play here. So let's do it with this move. I mean this one. And black will probably play here. I get a cut here. And so here, I'm going to demonstrate how I thought it was going to work. And I think my opponent shared this idea with me. And that's why she didn't play this way. So in this variation, I've saved my stones in the center. And I'm setting up a forcing move here where I can play 20 once and cut black off before I have to save these stones on this side. Otherwise, like if that wasn't Sente, then black would be able to capture wherever she plays. She's going to capture these stones. So yes. So my idea was that I could cut these black stones off. I hadn't really read this out, but black can play here. And this is bad. So let's see. If white plays here, this is going to finish white off. So that's an Atari. Black still has 3 liberties. So black wins this one by a 1 move difference. So this would capture the white stones there. If white plays on this side, now there's 2 cuts. So again, black has just enough liberties to make this work. So this would capture the white stones there. Black has 4 liberties now, and white has no way to escape. And this would capture white too. So like this would be, for instance, like this. Black has 3 liberties, and like this. So white loses by 1 move. So it wasn't going to work. I figured that one after the game. So in the game, so black could have just covered here, and nothing would have amounted from it. So I needed some kind of a kill in the center to justify this whole thing. So that's why I'm showing you the variation where I did this kind of stuff and tried to kill the black group. But it's not going to work. So in the game black played here, this was a mistake. And I don't really understand what the miscalculation was, because at this point, obviously black cannot wedge here. So this is too simple. Too simple to be the actual mistake. I don't really know what her miscalculation was, but she could not continue at this point. And the fact that I broke into the top side like this, I've gained a few points. And actually black has to save this black group. So black played here and cut, and is starting to connect up here. And I play this Atari on the first line. This Atari is very annoying for black. So it's good for me. I enjoyed playing it, but it's annoying for black because if black connects, you would usually, as far as territory is concerned, you would want to connect here. White's going to cut the black group off. So this cuts black off. Black can live, but you can see the 3 stones only give black the 1 eye. So while black can live, I can play a forcing move here. So the idea is that if I try to kill, I would run out of liberties. So I can't do that. But I get this forcing move. That means in the center, it works out like this. So the center stones, white stones in the center are all connected up. And I get to play at 14, which would put a lot of pressure, like this black group, it's going to get into trouble. And we still have this issue in the center with white's potential play here. So it's getting a bit too exciting for black. It's dangerous. So yeah, so something like, I'm getting into a different version. Sorry about that. So yes. So this was a big mess up for black, and it put me back in the game. And the Atari on the first line was very annoying because if she connects, then I get to push that black group around. So this would be painful. Let's see, where's this variation? It would be painful for black, where I get that komi at 14. Okay, so black captured. So when black captures here, that means that black doesn't. Black's going to be alive when black plays it. So this is no longer a forcing move, and it wouldn't be an issue anymore. So that would be okay for black. And so I played here. But the point is, now my group, not only have I broken into the top side here, taking some territory, but I have a connection. If I extend here, I get to connect to the corner. Or actually, I can even play the Atari sometimes, because in this case, let's just do that variation. So like, if we say that black is going to try to kill my white group, so something like this. This white group is sort of isolated. So instead of just scrambling for 2 eyes with something like this, I get to play this move. So in this case, I would have enough space to be alive, or I would connect up to the corner. And actually, although some of those stones will be on the first line, I'm getting a lot of territory if I have an eye on the right. So leaving that move at 8 was the virtue of playing that Atari on the first line. So that was why it was annoying for the fact that black could not connect at E18. Yes. So I'm getting back into the game here. It's getting to be very close, but black still has a small lead. So black took Sente and finished off my group in the center. So I did, although I gained a lot of points on the top side, I guess I gave several points back here where black captured my 3 stones. And also, to start with, I sacrificed in the center. So I lost some points here. I did gain on the whole, but by breaking into the top side, so that was something like 20 points, or close to 20 points. But I'm giving it back in pieces here. So it's not actually, even though I've succeeded here, it's not a win for me yet. And I curl around. Okay. You can see I'm making eyes for my group here. My group here was not 100% alive, so I'm making eye space for it. While I do have a connection to the corner, I want to make eye space for this white group at the same time as putting some pressure on the black group. And so black covers here. Yeah, so this is a big move. It would be a big move for me. And of course, it's threatening to attack the white group. So black could... it'll be a bit painful if I end up having to make 2 eyes for that group. So I played the peep, and I escaped here. So this is a key point towards the end of the game, where if black had played here, it's getting to be very close now. It's about half a point. If black had pushed here, then black's connection in the center would have been safe. So a variation is something like this, where black needed that stone at 9 to stop white from pushing through at L10, that is. But black did connect up in the center. So everything in the center is connected up. just going back a few moves. I could have cut black here, but it wouldn't have amounted to anything. So like black is going to have enough space to make two eyes. Something like this maybe. Black even has an eye here. Yeah, so black has eyes all over the place. So yeah, so that's why this variation has me playing at 6 to take away black's eye space. And black just connects it. So this would have been a win for black. It's very close, something like a half point. Maybe a bit more, but it's fairly close. Instead of pushing once here, black played here. So this gave me an opportunity, and I messed up. So this is my second losing move in the game, where I pushed through. This is bad Suji. So this is an example of bad Suji, because it loses some of the potential. So I played this move because I miscalculated and I thought I had captured the black rook. So I realized that a few moves after this. So let's go through the game variation first. Why don't we go through the game variation first? Okay, I played here. And I played here. I actually thought I'd captured the black rook. Yeah, but at this point I realized that it wasn't working. So if I play here, and I play here, I've cut off the black rook. I'm even threatening to play here and cut off these 3 stones. So it might look like it's a success for white. Anyone want to suggest the Tetsuji where black can capture white's cutting stone at 1? It's black's turn to try to capture white's stone at, yeah, P12? P12. Yeah, that was what I would have hoped to happen, because white can connect here, or actually it might be even more effective if white just pushes through here. But the point is that white has time to play at 5. And so this would be, actually, I wouldn't even bother to try to kill the black rook. This would be good enough in itself. Or if I play here, I'm going to get, actually in this case, I get all of the stones too, don't I? Yeah, so this would be even better. So the fact that I can get to play 5 first, or if black defends on the left, I get to connect up here. Black's not going to get 2 eyes. So this, I would include this in my miscalculation. So this is sort of part of the miscalculation. Because usually 4 would be the net. It would be the geto. 011, double peep. That's O-senshi. Got it again. So that's the second time O-senshi has found the Tetsuji. The double peep here is the correct move. And the thing that is easy to miss is the fact that after this, black doesn't follow up with this move. This move would not work because I get to play an Atari here and capture these black stones. But black can actually continue on the left side here. And it's sort of counterintuitive that black just plays the 1 peep there and leaves it, but white can't do anything. So it's a net anyway. There's no way to escape. So this would capture my group here. And so somehow I missed that net when I pushed through at M16. So that should have been the losing move. So what should I have done? The correct move, let's see. The correct move is this one. So the reason, how I reason this out for you to tell you why it was bad. Okay, Rubenstein got it too. That's right. Yeah, the reason that it was bad for me to push through here is that actually sometimes I have a wedge here. And sometimes I have a double peep here. So I'm going to show you variations in which one of those two is going to work. So black pushes through here. It's very similar to what was happening in the game, right? But when white pulls back here, black does get the same net. It's the same net. If white plays here, black can capture it. It's the same net, but white can peep here now. So at the very least, white's going to peep here and capture these 6 stones. So that would have been a win for white. Or we can go back to this point and say, what if black plays this way? This connects up too. So when black connects up this, so I showed you this one where white got the peep at 7. This one is going to be the wedge. So when black plays here, now white can play the wedge. And this is going to get the 4 black stones here. And I got to tell you, like, although I've been losing throughout the whole game, it's actually only 2 or 3 points after komi. So it's a fairly close game. So capturing 4 stones like this would just finish the game off. So the way it works is if black plays here, I extend, I'm going to connect up one side or the other. So the 5 stones on the top are bigger. That's why I'm saying I'm going to capture the 4 stones like this. So I capture those 4 stones. That would be a win for white. And this will happen because black failed to play this 4. This would have been a win for black. So I wasn't deserving to win, but I did have a chance here. And I messed it up. So on the whole, I was sort of disappointed with this game, as far as the game itself was. But I got lucky at the end. So black takes the 1 stone. This is a clever endgame. The timing is good because at this moment I don't have 2 eyes. So I don't have any extra eyes elsewhere for this big white root. And if I play here, black can use this forcing move to threaten to kill me. So if I answer here, black's going to be able to play all these moves and kill me like this. So I don't have an eye. I think I showed you that I don't actually have an eye here. And black can kill it. So like if I had gotten that move at 19 at some earlier date, then maybe I would have had a ko for an eye there. That would still be bad, but it wouldn't have died outright. But as the board was, I couldn't cover there. So this would have died, and I played here. So I had to back off, lose a point there. And we're continuing with the endgame. So this was a big move. This was a point, actually, where black could have played this Tetsuji I was showing you earlier in the game, where black's going to get some kind of a ko. If white does this, that would be a ko. Black has plenty of ko threats in this game. So that's sort of the story of this game. Any ko's are probably going to be good for black. So in this case, black gets a ko here, and will force me to put 2 extra stones in. So it's something ending up like this. So I'm putting a lot of stones inside that territory. The other variation would be white playing here. This would be bad, of course. That would be a snapback. And the other one, the other hanging connection on the first line is the same story. That would be a snapback. And black would actually get those 2 stones with sente. So maybe the best move is here. That gets rid of all the cuts and all the ko's. But in this variation, I'm going to end up adding an extra stone here. So black's gained a couple of points here. Okay, Rick was asking, I assume you were both in Byomi at this stage. Actually, after my initial mistake, I played the whole game fairly quickly. So I think I still had a fair amount of time left. But my opponent has been in Byomi for a while. So yeah, she was probably feeling some time pressure. It was easy for me because throughout the game, I was aware that I was losing. And so it was, in a way, it was an easy game to play. I didn't really have anything to lose. So this move, it would have been about 2 or 3 points and it would have been sente for black. So that's why I'm playing here, to stop black from playing this p2. And it's not that she missed it. It actually, the value of this endgame didn't really change with the fact that she lost an opportunity to play that move. She could have played it now. I think she was just going to wait a few moves and play it next opportunity. And the value of this move is about equivalent to the value of the other moves that she's playing. So she didn't actually lose any points because of the fact that I got to play this move. It's a reverse sente in game, and it was big. Now it's time for me to play it, but she didn't necessarily have to play it before I did that, even though it was a sente. Okay, so black plays here. This was a mistake. So this is where I thought maybe I was going to win the game. So this shape, where we're going to put a black stone here and a white stone here, this is what this move, and eventually I'm going to play here, and black is going to play here. So this is what black has accomplished here. And the comparison is, if black plays here, the comparison is that white is going to play here and here. And so we compare it with this diagram where white has 4 points. So the explanation of why 3 was pretty significant is more difficult. So we'll just say that black is going to connect at 3, and we're going to call it this 4-point move. So it was worth 4 points. So now I sort of gave you a hint by showing black's move here. Sorry, what am I doing? So I sort of gave you a hint by showing black's move here. So final problem for the viewers. There was a bigger move on the right side. So what is the strategy that white plays to reduce the black territory? It's going to be on the right side of the board. So today it's a kind of a sequence of strategy problems for the viewers. Does anyone have any ideas? T7, that's a good try. Rick Rubenstein. Okay. Robert Crabtree. Everyone is saying T7. And Monos Ford is saying Asker Tokenes. A number of players now say T6. So T7 and T6 are both moves here. So this one and this one. And you, those of you who are familiar with OGS probably recognize that this one is the variation. So this is not the correct move. And usually they're equal. They're the same tesuji. Usually they work the same way. But when we get into this variation, one of the reasons this is not as good is that black has loads of co-threats in this game. So black has co-threats against white on the left. Black has co-threats against white on the bottom side here, starting with one of these cuts. Black can actually start with the cut on the left, because if I connect it L2, black's going to get some endgame profit there. So black has a lot of co-threats here. Black has co-threats here. Black has co-threats all over the place. So I'm going to lose the ko. And although you count a ko like this as a fraction of a point, black has forced white to connect at 9, so that's an extra point. And black's never going to lose this ko. So I would need to trade it with some different ko in order to capture this ko. And so that's an extra 2 points that black gets. So the weakness of this variation is actually that it ends with black capturing there, getting to capture this stone. So the value of my playing a placement on the other side, it's really the same tesuji. So those of you who chose T7, you can say you got the right tesuji anyway. So the value of this one is that black's not really going to play this move, because he's losing points when he does that. He's going to lose 2 more points, 3 more points on the side. So black's realistic choices would be either to play something like this to get the territory like that, or the game move was black played here and squeezes like this. So in either case, black doesn't get to capture that ko at t10. So avoiding that is the value of t6 when compared to t7. So now, if black had played that variation, let's see if I can find it still. If black had played this variation, this one. If black had played this variation, actually I think when I made the variation, I did it like this. So I did a whole variation. Those of you who are following me on Patreon, let's show the Patreon link since I mentioned it. Those of you who are following me on Patreon can find the game record where I made a lot of crazy variations in the endgame, and this was one of them. So like this is the variation that I made when I researched the endgame, and I found that black was winning by, I think it was 1.5 points or something like that. So I played out the whole endgame and came to that conclusion. But in this variation, it's a half-point difference. So one way or the other is a half-point difference. And we're going to find out fairly soon. So this was all forced sequence here. And that was the biggest move on the board. So like that was, it was bigger than 3 points. So it was less than 4 points, but it was bigger than 3 points. So it makes sense that it was coming later than this move. This move that I played here was actually closer to 5 points. So I gained more than a point. I mean, it was more than 5 points. So I gained more than a point there. And now, yeah, so I'm winning until I played. So like, I don't know what I was thinking here. I guess I was just tired and my brain was not functioning as it should, because this was equivalent to a Sente 1-point move or a Gote 2-point move. Yes, I do play against Katabu with the endgame also. That works to research it or to train my endgame. Yeah. So that was Jeremiah Donnelly asking that question. S7, threatening to connect at no, that doesn't work. Yes, fractional point values depend on the number of kotes and stuff like that. So yeah, like with a ko, we usually call it a fraction of a point, but sometimes it's very close to 1 point. So like this was equivalent to, for instance, a forcing 1-point move like this. So it would be the same thing, because without that move, I can't play here. So if I play here, that would leave the cut here. That's why I can't play that move. By playing this move, I enable myself to some point later in the game to play this exchange. So it's equivalent to a 1-point forcing move, which is also considered equal to a move that makes a difference of 2 points. So like it's considered equal to this move in theory. So that sort of depends on the whole board, but usually it's true. So it's equivalent to most of the board moves on the board. But there is one move which is slightly bigger. And the calculation that proves that is sort of tricky. But this move was actually very slightly bigger than 2 points. So it was slightly bigger than the white move. And at this point, black is winning by half a point. Robert Crabtree, thank you very much for your donation. So now black is winning by half a point. So this was a pretty messy endgame. I think, yeah, we were both in time trouble at this point. So I guess I can forgive myself for that. And we're playing 2-point moves now. The final drama was very unusual, unique mistake by black. So when I play this move, I could have played one more forcing move here. This is a forcing 1-point move. There's also a forcing 1-point move here. So when black plays this move, it's going to be a forcing move because I can't win that ko, so I want to connect it. And so I would be able to play this move when black plays it 1. So although I didn't play the forcing 1-point move, it's going to be equivalent because I get to play this one move. So that was also a Sente 1-point move for black. and black could not get both of those. So we're at the end of the game, and black is winning by half a point. And this was the final move. So this is a 1-point move. So if black doesn't play that, white can play here, and black will eventually be forced to put a stone in here. So that's why this is, we call it a 1-point move. Usually this is not forcing, because black has so many points that black has to connect up to. So white would play the 1-point move, and black would connect up, and it would be the same story. And actually, this costs black an extra move. So theoretically, when we count the size of each move, black's move at 1 here, it's a fraction of a point. It's less than 1 point. This move is a 1-point move. It's supposed to be bigger, but this was the losing move. The final move of the game, you might say. Because in this board position, this move is actually forcing. So what I'm saying here is that if white pushes through here, taking the 1 point, black can actually get an extra point here. And white cannot cover at a16. So I'd be putting an extra stone inside the white territory, and black would have curled in 1 more point. So this is actually reducing my territory to 9 points. And it means I have to cover here to keep a territory of 11 points. So that's a 2-point difference. So while 1 was just a fraction of a point, covering at 2 was a very necessary defense. And it's about 2 points. So black could have played this exchange and played here. And usually you would say, what's the point? Because white can just win the ko and connect here. It's the same thing, isn't it? But white cannot win this ko. White doesn't have enough ko threats to win this ko, because black has ko threats all over the place. So black has ko threats here. Black has ko threats here. This would be, let's see, no, that's not forcing, sorry. Black has ko threats all over the place anyway. So black has ko threats. Black could have something like a lot of ko threats here. White has to be careful of this too. So white probably has to capture this way. Black has a lot of ko threats. So like it would be like this. White would be finishing off these stones. I've already played 6, 7, 8 ko threats. White has very few ko threats. So the white ko threats, white's ko threats are something like, this one would be canceled out by the ko threat black has at K19. So that doesn't work. I have a ko threat here. So 1 ko threat, 2 ko threats, 3 ko threats, 4 ko threats. I have 4 ko threats. And that's it. That's all the ko threats I have. So I'm not going to... black also has ko threats on the left side. So I don't have any ko threats. And it means that black would have been able to win this 2-step ko while connecting here. So that would have given black an extra point. And I would have lost by one half of a point. So yeah, it's just the fact that black has something like, I would call it an infinite. It's not infinite, but it's a huge supply of ko threats, which allows black to win that ko. So black could have played the hane once and gained that extra point. You usually think that's not something you think about a lot, but in this case, I got the extra point there, and I won by half a point. So I played a lot of mistakes. The research, the analysis of this game that I did afterwards was pretty valuable for me, and it was really interesting, where I got to see where I differed from AlphaGo and how I learned a lot there. And the endgame was exciting. And so on the whole, I enjoyed it, but it was poorly played. I thought it was worth showing this to everyone, because there are a lot of Tetsuji problems sort of hidden in this game. So that made it fun for me to play out and show to everyone. And actually, I played some more games in Kisei. It is Elimination tournament at this stage. Maybe I'll be showing some more games later on. I don't know. Well, I don't have a schedule yet, but just keep watching. I'm sort of winding down to an end here. Yeah, but the end game is tricky, and I think I did fairly well. I did make one endgame mistake, so I'm disappointed about that one. But on the whole, I think I played a fairly good endgame in this game. I knew what was going on at least. So thank you all for watching. Thank you for the donations to my channel. And I was busy for a while early this year, but I'm going to try to get back into it. So watch for more live broadcasts. And thank you all. Okay. Yes, so that was a question. Yeah, I did win by half a point. Maybe I should put up the result. Yeah, White won by half a point. So I was very lucky that I got to continue with this tournament. So thanks and goodbye for everyone.